إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. First and foremost, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we praise Him alone, and we seek His help, and we seek His forgiveness alone. We seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evil within ourselves and from the evil of our own actions. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, there is no one that can misguide. And whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves to be misguided, there is no one that can guide, again back to the straight path. I testify that none has the right to be worshipped, to be followed, to be obeyed, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the servant of Allah and His last and final prophet and messenger, who is the best of creation. And He came with the last and final revelation for the whole of mankind, the Quran. And I testify that Islam is the only way of life, the only deen that is acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I testify that only the believer, only the Muslim will enter the paradise. Amma ba'd. Firstly, Jazakallah khair to all the brothers and sisters for tuning in. As I mentioned, first and foremost, we seek Allah's help to allow us to deliver this in the best manner, which is pleasing to Him. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it beneficial for all the people who are listening. My topic for today is the 55 ways to attain a happy marriage. The notes for this were given to me, and it was covered, this topic, by my own ustad, which he got from his own ustad, Shaykh Umar Bakri Muhammad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obviously protect him and preserve him. And this, subhanAllah, when he was in the UK and he delivered this topic to the brothers, that was some 15 years ago. And he's one of his closest students, Ustad Abu Bara. He delivered this topic himself roughly about a year ago. And the original video is still available on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. But it's titled 60 ways, golden ways, I believe, to attain a happy marriage. I don't know why the notes I received has got 55. But I would advise all the brothers and sisters, inshallah, if you get time, you can listen to the original. Obviously, he's my ustad, and I think he'll do a better job than me. But inshallah, I'll try my best obviously I'm using the same notes, but maybe you get a slightly different approach, inshallah. And obviously, my dear Muslims, those of you who are regular to this room on Fridays, you'll notice that for the last few weeks I've been covering doing a series of talks in regards to marriage, regards to engagement, regards to seeking a partner, in regards to rights and of husband and wife, and advice for husband and wife. And today is the last talk in this series of 55 ways how to attain a happy marriage. And all of these notes here have obviously from the basis is from the Quran and the Sunnah. And as I mentioned, this is the last talk in the series. Obviously, my dear Muslims, marriage is something that we'll all be engaged in at one point in our life, but at the same time we do not want to be bogged down in these type of topics, in a time when the ummah is going through great crisis, where our lands are occupied by the disbelievers, where we see many of our brothers and even our sisters who are imprisoned in the prisons of the kuffar and the tawheed. And these are very important topics that we need to be talking about. I know many people out there. You see, look at the topics and the talks that they deliver. It's all focused on things and not the burning issue, you see, for the ummah. You see someone there, he's giving a talk on marriage. Someone over there, he's giving a talk on punishment of the grave. Someone over there, he's giving a talk about the rights of parents, which is all good. But we're living in a time of crisis where the Muslims are being massacred all around the world. Whether you look to now recently in Kashmir, whether you look to in Burma, whether you look to in Sham, in Syria, in Iraq, whether you look to Central African Republic. So obviously, my dear Muslims, we need to also be focused on these issues as well. And inshallah, in the coming future, we will be addressing those things. And be careful as well, on a side note, of those type of so-called scholars who don't speak about these issues. You see, because maybe they're scared of what the government will say. Maybe they're too controversial topics. But we need to be speaking about these topics. How we're going to liberate our lands, how we're going to free the Muslim Asir from the prisons. You see, we cannot just be sitting in the masjid. It's not peacetime, where alhamdulillah there's no Muslims in prison of the kuffar, and everywhere the Muslims are living, in security. Today we live in a time, obviously, where the ummah is suffering a great deal. So, but obviously at the same time, there are people, even maybe in the middle of war and crisis, people do get married still, and obviously we need to know in terms of the rulings, etc., about marriage, and we need to study other topics that might not necessarily be related to maybe to the jihad, etc. So inshallah, the topic, 55 ways to attain a happy marriage. The first point the Shaykh he mentioned, point number 1, remember the short separations, i.e. days, away from the wife may strengthen the marriage bonds, but long separations, such as weeks and months, will weaken and harm the relationship. Yeah, so short separations, they could be good and strengthen the marriage. However, long separation can be harmful and weaken the marriage. We have a saying here in the West, or subhanAllah, more accurately put, Darul Kufr. At one point we used to mention the West and UK, but now we use terms such as Darul Kufr and Darul Islam. There's a saying here in Darul Kufr, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah. So one of the things, obviously, when maybe you have a short separation, it could be maybe the husband, he goes off for a few days on a business trip, maybe off seeking ilm, seeking a bit dawah, something. Obviously, how a short separation can be beneficial. The wife, during that separation, it gives her time to reflect and ponder, obviously, how much, for example, she may rely on the husband. It helps her to appreciate when he may not be around for a few days. And obviously, naturally, the wife may get lonely without him. So that short separation, it gives that yearnness to be back with the husband, and obviously, when he returns, helps to remind her how much she relies on him, and how much she's in need of his company, and how lonely she feels without his love. So that's why the short separation can be good for the wife, and also it could be good for the husband as well. You see, maybe the husband, he's gone off for a few days for whatever reason, for work, or maybe from deen related, and he's now maybe staying at a new place, and maybe obviously he'll have to cook for himself now. So when he's eating that pot noodles, he'll maybe remember, subhanAllah, he may remember his wife's cooking. If he was at home, maybe all these wonderful things she'd cook for him. You see, and especially when you, subhanAllah, maybe brothers will relate to this more, when you're staying away. I know some brothers, they're very good at cooking. I myself, I can make a good egg omelette, and that's about it. So when you have to cook for yourself and you realize how difficult it is, it helps you to remember, all the hardship that, maybe your wife goes through in cooking and preparation of food. And especially you realize how hard it is to make mistake in cooking. You can accidentally burn something, put too much salt. So obviously remind you not to complain as well if your wife makes a little mistake in the cooking. And also naturally the man as well, when he spends a few days away from his own wife, he will start to feel lonely and yearn for his own wife, his own friend, his own companion. And obviously that will remind him as well the blessing of having a wife, and all the things that she does for him and takes care of him. Especially when it comes to, maybe you're spending some time away and you got to do your own ironing, yeah, and you realize, subhanallah, things don't, things, all that clothes that your kameez and your trousers are nicely ironed. You see, it doesn't happen by magic. Your family, your wife goes through all that for you and to take care of you. So make sure when you go outside, you look nice. And then when you got to do it all yourself, you realize more how much your own wife does for you, and it helps you to appreciate it even more. So that is the short separation, how it can strengthen a marriage. But as we mentioned, long separations can be harmful, yeah, in some circumstances. Now, obviously, there could be long separation for many reasons. Some could be good reasons, and some could be negative reasons or bad reasons. For example, maybe the husband, he could be gone off for a long time. He could be gone off to study ilm, study knowledge. In the past, where you didn't have cars and trains, etc., many of the muhaddithin, the collectors of hadith, they used to travel weeks and months, maybe to go collect one hadith, subhanallah. Today we have apps on our phones that got all the books of hadith. Yet, so for some reason, we seem to have less knowledge and less studies than those people of the past. So maybe, someone in the past, he'd gone off somewhere far to even maybe study knowledge. So he could be gone off for a while. Maybe he's gone off for the Hajj, or the Hajj or the Umrah. So he may be gone off for a few weeks. Or it could be even in the jihad fi sabilillah, where the husband, he could be gone for several months, and it could be even longer than that. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, there should be obviously good reason for separation. Yeah, good reason for this separation, because originally, obviously, husband and wife, they should be together, enjoy each other's company. They have rights over each other. And sometimes if you have long separation, obviously you can't fulfill each other's rights and enjoy each other's companionship. So as I mentioned, there are some separations which are good reason for separation, like for example, the husband going to study, husband for jihad or for the Hajj or something like this. However, sometimes people have long separation for a negative reason. Yeah, I've heard cases of where the husband, maybe he's gone abroad for work, and he's gone for years. And sometimes he may come back after a few years, all for the sake of earning money. Now, obviously, it's very unusual to have a circumstance like that, to go off for years for the sake of earning money. I don't know whether the place where you live, maybe it doesn't have jobs, etc. But you cannot have this thing where for years you go off, or maybe for the whole year you go off to work, and you come back and you spend 1 month with your own family, and then you go back for another year. You see, this type of long separation will have a big effect on your own marriage. Obviously, like we said, the wife has rights. The children have rights. Children need to have their father around and spend time with him, etc. And so obviously things like this, obviously, like I said, every situation has got to be looked at individually. But what's some people, what's going on? Is there no jobs in your locality? Maybe the job is less paid than some work abroad. But you see, but for the sake of seeking that money extra few pounds, extra few rupees or whatever, you could end up harming your own marriage, and you cannot just buy, the money can't replace that time you lose with your own spouse. And as I mentioned, see, if the husband, he goes off for a long time, for some, let's say for some legitimate reason, like in the jihad, you see the woman, she can handle that. My husband's gone off to go and defend the Muslims, gone to make the word of Allah the Most High. But if the husband, he may be gone off, for 6 months because he's going to climb Mount Everest, she's not gonna have that same feeling of that. She most likely have that resentment. That, look, first and foremost, that is not a legitimate reason to have such an absence. That you're going to an adventure trip with your mates to go climb Mount Everest. Why do you want to, go there anyway? Subhanallah. This is something that usually you see the kuffar do. Yeah, the Muslims traveling, his holiday is the jihad. Subhanallah. But people, obviously, so he could be gone off for 6 months to go on an adventure trip, safari trip, or whatever, just to enjoy himself. Yeah, and then his wife, for the last 6 months, she's having to do everything by herself, etc. So she's not going to look at it in the same way if he leaves, if he's left the home not for the sake of Allah. And obviously it'll be very hard for the woman. You see, she'll have to do maybe the shopping herself, etc. And if she had kids, sometimes having the extra pair of hands, it helps a lot. And subhanallah, I remember Sheikh Anjum Chaudhry, he once mentioned a story of at the time of the Tabi'een, which is the generation after the Sahaba. One man, he went off for jihad for 30 years. 30 years in the jihad. 30 years away from his own wife. Subhanallah. And he came back. His wife was still there. He had the children, etc. Obviously, that is something unusual, my dear Muslims. But it could be the case where, the husband may be gone off for exceptionally long time. See, sometimes, maybe is gone off in the Ghazwa, and maybe something's happened. Maybe they've been besieged. Maybe he's been captured. You see, so he may gone off for a bit longer time, and this is a test for the wife, and she will need to have the sabr and have the patience. Not to be the case on this rush that, oh look, my husband's gone, that's it, he's never coming back. What I'm gonna do? I'm a young woman. Subhanallah. This Sahab, or this Tabi'in, he went for 30 years. Subhanallah, in the Ghazwa. And obviously those families who have had husbands left for whatever reason, they, as we as the Muslim community, need to obviously support them. Especially if they don't have anyone else to support, we need to be taking care of the families of the Asir, of the families of the Mujahideen, and all those people who don't have the widows and the orphans, and many other people in the community. And at the same time, obviously as well, just on this point, the man should not be the case where he leaves the wife hanging. Yeah, so she's gone off. He said he'll be back after a month. There's no news of him. It's been 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. What's going on? See, naturally the wife will get worried. That's why obviously if the man is the husband has gone away for some time, he should keep regular contact, if he can, to let the family know he's well and safe, and that will ease her heart. But you cannot obviously leave the wife hanging without a good reason, and where to the extent where she doesn't know when you'll return, etc. And it might even come into her mind that maybe he doesn't intend to return, maybe he doesn't love me anymore, or could be even maybe thinking, oh look, he's got married again, he's not coming back. So obviously, my dear Muslims, the long separation without a valid reason should be avoided, as this could harm the marriage. However, we mentioned the short separation is something that is beneficial, and it can help to strengthen the marriage. So that was point number one. And there's one narration here I'd just like to quickly share. It's narrated by Yazid ibn Aslam. He said that whilst Umar ibn al-Khattab, he was patrolling the streets of Medina. Yeah, this was when Umar ibn al-Khattab, he was the Khalifa. He was the head of the Islamic State. He was the head of the Muslims worldwide. And subhanAllah, if you just mention on this point, he was patrolling the streets of Medina. Obviously, Medina was the center of Darul Islam then. And this is the Khalif, this is the head of the state. And he's patrolling the streets at night time. Now imagine today, imagine our so-called rulers today. Imagine David Cameron today patrolling the streets of London tonight. He's not going to patrol the streets of London, because most likely someone's going to smash his face in, or someone's going to rob him. Yeah, and this is what will happen when you rule by oppression. Obviously, the people will not like you, will not be able to stand you. You see, there was once a narration where one representative was sent from the lands of the Mushrikeen to see Umar bin al-Khattab, who was obviously the head of the state then. And the man, he inquired that where is Umar bin al-Khattab, and the people they pointed to him and say, he's that man over there sleeping under the tree. This was obviously out in the open, and this kafir, he was shocked that how can this man, he's just sleeping out in the public, he's not afraid, and he's just there. And even this kafir, at that point, he recognized that verily this is a man who rules with justice. You see, that's why he's not afraid of someone of the citizen just attacking him. He's a man who rules with justice. But anyway, this narration mentions Umar al-Khattabi was patrolling the streets of Medina, and he passed by a woman who was saying that this night is getting very long and very dark because I have no partner to play with. By Allah, were it not for the fear of Allah and for the modesty, this bed would shake under me. And when Umar bin Khattab asked about, so obviously he overheard a woman, saying this. So when Umar bin Khattab asked about her, and he was told that she was so and so whose husband was absent, i.e. because he went out in the jihad for the sake of Allah. So he sent a woman to stay with her and sent for her husband to return. A message obviously for him to return. And then he entered upon his own daughter, Hafsa. Obviously Hafsa was she was also married to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He entered upon Hafsa and said, "O my daughter, how long can a woman bear to be away from her husband?" She said, "Subhanallah, would one such as you ask one such as me about that?" Because obviously that's his own daughter. He said, "Were it not that I would make a decision concerning the Muslims, I would not have asked you." So she said, about 5 to 6 months. 5 or 6 months. Yeah. So then what he did, he set a limit for the people on their campaigns of 6 months. They would march for a month, then stay there for 4 months, and then take another month for the journey back. Now obviously what this is mentioning is about obviously the duration when the husband is away from the wife. Obviously, like we mentioned, the wife has rights Wife has, emotional rights, has physical rights, etc. So at his time, he made this, obviously, his policy, that obviously the soldiers, etc., who've gone out in the path of Allah, if possible, they could return, after spending some time, so they can return back to their own families. Yeah. Now, this is not necessarily is the case of it has to be fixed 6 months. Yeah. Sometimes, like I said, in unusual circumstances, maybe the husband has to go for longer, etc. But obviously, if it's possible, the emir would make plans for his soldiers to spend time, obviously, with his own family. And that just emphasizes, obviously, the importance of the rights of the wife. So that's point number one. Point number two, you should understand and be considerate of the psychological nature of the female makeup, so that you can properly deal with your affairs together without distress or difficulties. Yeah. Obviously, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the man and the woman different. Yeah? And you're probably thinking, well, that's obvious. I'm not just talking physically different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the woman psychologically different. Yeah? Emotionally different. And, I'm sure both brothers and sisters will agree with this. Usually you find the women, they are more sensitive, more emotional, and that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them, and that is good for the roles that she has to perform. You see, the woman needs to be emotional, especially when it comes to looking after the children. She needs to be more gentle, you see, especially looking after when it comes to dealing with the children, etc. And I'm sure you can relate. Sometimes maybe the way you joke around with the brothers, you can't joke around in the same way with your own wife. Some jokes, it don't work in this way. Something you might, a brother, you might say something, and the mother, he could just take it on the chin, as we say. Or something you say with your own joke, same joke with maybe your own family, and it's not, it could end up into a big argument, you see. So, I'll just narrate one hadith that will help make the point clear. It's narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He said that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Take my advice regard to women. Act kindly towards women, for they were created from a rib, and the most crooked part of the rib is the uppermost." Yeah, as we mentioned, I think last week or the week before, you have the human rib cage. You see if you ever seen a skeleton, the uppermost part of the rib cage is the most curved. Yeah, and this is like the rib is talking about. So the hadith then says, if you attempt to straighten it, you will break it, and if you leave it alone, it will remain crooked. Yeah, so this is always the Prophet ﷺ giving us an analogy. Yeah, that uppermost part rib, as that's how it's Allah creating it. Yeah, it's supposed to be very curved. Yeah, don't try and bend it and straight because you think it should be straight. You have to acknowledge this is how it just is, and you should accept that. That's when the nature of woman is. That's how Allah made her in a certain kind of way, and you should recognize that and acknowledge that. And the hadith, it goes on to say, so act kindly towards women. Yeah, so act kindly towards women. So this is obviously advice to the husbands and to the brothers, that recognize that women, they are different. You need to be more gentle. You need to be more kind and more patient with them. Just undot a few people, inshallah. Actually, I am multitasking today. Okay. Yeah. So that's point number two. You should understand and be considerate of the psychological nature of the female makeup, so that you can properly deal with your affairs together without distress or difficulties. And obviously the same also advice to the wife as well. Recognize the man is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it different from the woman. Yeah? And man obviously, to the wife should recognize that, he has different nature. He has a different nature. So one of the things, obviously, all I can say on this point, man, he's very protective of his manliness. If you like, he doesn't like to be challenged. He doesn't like maybe his authority to be, feel like his authority is under threat, for example. So that's why the woman shouldn't raise her voice at her husband. So that's point number two. Point number three, in the 55 ways to attain a happy marriage. Don't allow disputes of one day to last until the next day. So, my dear Muslims, obviously we have a dispute, etc., which happens in everyone's marriage. Yeah, it happens with everyone's marriage. But don't let that dispute of today, don't let it last carry on until the next day. Yeah, whatever dispute is, if you can, try and resolve it today. Yeah, because what will happen, obviously, if you leave it and you don't deal with it, it gives the time and it allows for grudges to develop. Yeah, and grudges are such a harmful thing that this will end up consuming you and consuming others around you, and it will sow that seed of enmity and hatred. So the best thing to do, if you have disputes, deal with it today, bury it today. Yeah, don't leave it for tomorrow. And as well, my dear Muslims, let's say, for example, as a husband and wife, maybe you had some dispute, some argument today, and you're going to sleep angry with each other. Allah knows best. If your husband or your wife passes away tonight, and it could happen, and you think, subhanallah, and then you'll feel terrible that he passed away or she passed away, and at that moment you were angry with each other. So my dear Muslims, obviously try, and any issues, try to deal with it, inshallah, and just inshallah forgive and let it go if you can. Yeah, that will be better for both of you. And don't hold on to things, even if maybe you feel like it wasn't your fault. Yeah, don't hold on to it that, look, no, I'm not going to let it go until you admit that it was your fault, etc. And then the other person will like, well, look, I don't think it's my fault, I'm not going to let it go until you admit it's your fault. And then no one ends up letting it go, and this continues for days and days. So don't be like this, inshallah. So that's point number three. Don't allow for disputes of one day to last until the next day. Point number four, avoid talks about past relationships and previous engagements or marriages. Yeah. So obviously now that you're married, don't bring up these stories of your past relationships. What maybe people you used to be married to, people you are due to engage to be married to, etc. Don't bring this stuff up. This could harm your own marriage. Yeah, and I'm sure you can understand the wisdom behind this. Let's, for example, a husband he's married now, and he's speaking about all the engagements he had, all the proposals. Yeah, let's say I don't know, I had about, before I married you, I had about 10 proposals, and they all turned me down. What's the wife going to be thinking? They all turn you down. On my days, I married a reject. Yeah, so obviously you're gonna end up digging a hole for yourself. Why you don't bring up all these things. And also the other thing as well, if you bring up past relationships, past marriages, let's say, for example, the husband is talking to his own wife, So on my previous wife that passed away, she was so good. She was like this and that. I'll never find a woman better than her. And he's telling that all that to your current wife. What's she going to think? She's going to think, obviously, look, he's always thinking about her. He doesn't appreciate me, and I'll never be good enough. And she'll end up feeling down. Yeah. So try not to bring this up. And also, some people, what they do, obviously, some people may have been engaged in, before they got married, engaged in relationship. Obviously, boyfriend, girlfriend, which is obviously not allowed. But some people, they bring this up. And one of the things, obviously, my dear Muslim, you shouldn't be exposing your sins. Yeah, you shouldn't be exposing your past sins. So obviously, don't bring these things up. Yeah, as it will harm your current marriage. Point number 5: stay away from idealism and live your way naturally, and don't expect miracles to come your way. Yeah, so stay away from idealism. Obviously, subhanAllah, you may have in your mind of the ideal husband before you got married, and the brother might have in his mind of the ideal wife. Yeah, but we don't live in an ideal world. Yeah, you're not gonna find a man like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq today, and you're not gonna find a woman exactly like Khadija radiyallahu anha today. Yeah, so get that kind of ideal person, that's in your dream world. Yeah, in reality, people are not like this. So don't expect the ideal thing that you would love to see in a person, because you won't find that, and then you end up feeling down. Yeah, rather appreciate the person's qualities, etc. Someone's saying that ruined it all. I don't know when the message was put up, or what it's reference to. Okay, coming back, and as also, don't dream of what you could have. Yeah, don't dream of what you could have. Be content with what you have right now. Be content with what the partner that Allah SWT has given you, and all your situation now, and the blessings that you have given, you have today. Yeah, and try your best to live with that. Yeah. And don't expect miracles to come your way. So alhamdulillah, maybe, I don't know, you're married with your wife, maybe you have a few kids, but you still got that 1-bedroom flat. Yeah, ideally, yeah, it would be lovely to have a 4-bedroom house, with a big garden where all the kids can play, etc. But obviously, it's not gonna just fall out the sky and land on you. It would be nice, but make do with what you have. Give shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe in the future, maybe could happen, inshallah. But don't expect miracles, and live naturally, and stay away from idealism. Oh, the point regarding Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Obviously, that's not to say there's not many good brothers out there, but obviously Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is the best, or after the Anbiya, is the best, from the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So subhanallah. But I'm sure inshallah, there are many brothers out there who are close to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Obviously, one of the other points I will mention further down is obviously you should be very optimistic, inshallah. So coming back, what point was that? Okay, that was point number 5. Point number 6: convey your love and warm feelings to your wife whenever you can. Yeah, same to your husband as well. So if you love them, tell them that you love them regularly, and show your love. We don't need Valentine's Day, to express our love. The husband or the wife should express his love every day of the year, not one day. Obviously, Valentine's Day is a corrupted festival of the kuffar, where mostly it's about just people, want to fornicate, and people want to have, relationship and free mix, etc. But obviously, Muslims, we don't celebrate this. But if you love each other, show it. Show it with your tongue. Tell your partner that you love them. Show it with your actions. Buy them gifts, etc. Or show it, regularly by intimacy, even if it's just, even if it's just a hug and a kiss, for example. So if you love each other, then show it. Show your love and your warm feelings whenever you can. Point number 7. You must not submit yourself to anxieties and worries, and always be optimistic with a smiling face. So so obviously, my dear Muslim, like people say the marriage is like a roller coaster ride. There's ups and downs. So that, sometimes you might have everything is going great, everything fantastic, and you're really happy, and then maybe something happens. Maybe they cut your housing benefit, and now the arrears are building up, and you're stressing. What's going to happen? We're going to lose the flat. Don't worry. They'll backdate it. They'll backdate the claim. But be optimistic. And don't worry. Because if you feel down and you start worrying and stuff, your own partner will start, your own husband or your own wife you'll end up making them get down as well. So if something happens, be optimistic, be positive about it. Console each other, and tell them that, look, don't worry, it'll be sorted. Or don't worry, we'll do it. There's nothing to worry about, inshallah. We'll be, we'll deal with it together, etc. And you need to obviously support each other, especially when one partner is feeling down for whatever reason. The other partner should be there to be the supporting pillar, or the shoulder to cry on, as we say. And you should always be optimistic with a smiling face, inshallah. Point number 8. Beware of arguments and harsh criticism about every minor and major incident. So the saying here we have in Dar al-Kufr, say, don't make a molehill into a mountain. Obviously, a molehill is is little creature, and it's tiny little hill of soil. Don't call that a mountain. It's minor. It's a small thing. But some people, they make a little dispute, a little criticism and argument into this huge thing. This is and part of it is because people, they don't want to let things go. People don't want to admit they're wrong, or people, they're just constantly arguing about it, rather than walking away from it. So beware of arguments and harsh criticism, whether they are minor or major incidents, because many people have marital problems because of arguments, because of some dispute. It could be maybe something simple like the cooking, or some issue with the couch is not. I wanted the couch over there, but she wants it over there. And she's the wife, she's adamant she wants it over there, but you like the couch over there. So what's going to happen? Someone needs to compromise. Alhamdulillah, let the wife have the couch over there. So obviously the woman, she will spend majority of her time in the home, and she likes maybe things to be arranged in a certain way that makes her feel good. So the brother should be try to compromise, and obviously to the wife as well. sometimes the husband, he might like things in a certain way. If you can, try to compromise and make him happy as well. Point number 9, always try to confine disputes in a small narrow circle and don't allow it to expand, and be in control of the dispute before it goes out of control. Yeah? So if there is some argument, some dispute, don't go and start spreading it everywhere. Start telling all your friends and all your relatives and everything, and then everyone's going to have throw in their 2 pence comment. Yeah? Where you think they're trying to help, but end up making the situation worse. Yeah? Like people, they say, too many cooks, they spoil the broth. Yeah? Too many people, they get involved. Everyone's going to give you different bits of advice. So you maybe have, your first and foremost, why would you discuss it with your friends, etc.? Oh, look, I've got this thingy. Unless you need advice. Yeah. Try to deal with your problems in-house, as we say, and not to go and tell other people, because people will get involved, and there are many wicked people in the world. Some people, they love to sow the seed of enmity between husband and wife. Other people, they get a kick out of seeing people's marriages break down. Maybe they already have a grudge against you. So beware. Also, confine disputes to a narrow circle, and don't allow it to expand, and be in control of the dispute before it goes out of control. Point number 10, jealousy and suspicions and doubts are enemies. Always deal with reality and stay away from suspicions and fictions. Yeah, obviously, my dear Muslims, Shaitan, he wants to sow the discord amongst husband and wife. You see, and it's something that he loves. He loves to see, Muslims fighting each other. Shaitan loves to see husband and wife, angry with each other, and that good bond, to be split. And one of the ways it does that is to try to put discord and through jealousy and suspicions. Yeah, and obviously outside people who maybe would have some grudge against you or some hatred towards you, they would want to try and sow some kind of problem in your own marriage. Be careful of those type of people as well. And sometimes the jealousy obviously can come in many forms. Yeah, but try to deal with reality and stay away from suspicion. Yeah, so one of the things that Ustad mentioned, like for example, don't go through each other's phone. Yeah, maybe don't have that suspicion that, oh look, who's this person, or they're in contact with, or I think it's someone, he is his second wife, for example. Yeah, well, he hasn't got married, as far as you're aware. But you think, oh no, he's got married. I'm gonna go through his phone. Who's this person? He's talking to. He's always phones, and then he goes to the room, and he's speaking. I don't know. He's speaking secretly. Yeah, but the thing is, like I said, so what you do, the Osama may do, they go thinking, look, I'm suspecting something. I'm gonna go through their phone and check all their messages, etc. And then you end up finding, look, it's nothing like that. And you'll end up always then obviously mistrusting your own partner. Yeah? And you'll always having doubts about that. And that will obviously create problems. So don't have these suspicions. Yeah? Obviously deal with the facts and deal with the reality and stay away from suspicion and fictions. Point number 11, plant self-confidence in your partner's mind and trust him or her. Make him or her feel contempt and satisfied. Yeah, so obviously the husband and wife should be encouraging each other, not putting each other down. Yeah, so it could be in many things. So maybe the wife could give encouragement to the husband in his own business. Yeah, say, look, alhamdulillah, don't, maybe the business is not doing so well. Encourage her that, look, don't worry, rizq comes from, sustenance comes from Allah. Business, inshallah, I'm sure the business will pick up very soon, etc. Put that confidence, or maybe the wife, maybe she does some work, give her confidence in, maybe she's making something, or making a dress, or whatever it is. Maybe she wants to start some kind of business, making dresses. Give her confidence, yeah. Say, look, yeah, I think, yeah, if you maybe set your mind to it, I think you can do it very well. Yeah, I think it'll be very successful, inshallah. Yeah, give each other a boost of confidence. Don't put each other down. Point number 12. It is not enough that you marry a compatible person. You must be compatible as well. Yeah. So obviously, as I mentioned in the previous point, you should be adaptable. Yeah. You should try your best to adapt. As we mentioned, I mentioned the issue of the couch. Yeah. If you're so firm that, look, I don't know, maybe you like your food cooked in a certain way. Yeah, but maybe for example, your own wife can't cook it exactly like how your mother used to cook. SubhanAllah, you need to learn to adapt. Yeah, other places you go is not going to be taste the exact same way how for the last 20 years, whatever you've been eating in your own mother's home. So you must be able to adapt. Okay, because your own wife, for example, or your own husband, they might like to do things slightly different. Yeah, and if you have that rigidity, where you're firm that, look, it has to be done like this, and I like it like this, and I'm not gonna budge, and the woman as well, she's like, look, well, I like it this way, and I'm not gonna change it. You're gonna end up as we say, at loggerheads. You'll be head on with each other, and you're always clashing. So there must be a bit of give and take, as we say, yeah? A bit of give and take and bit of compromise where it's permissible. Point number 13, cleanliness is essential for Iman, yeah, and a symbol of love. Yeah, this is an important point. Obviously, both husband and wife should maintain themselves, groom themselves, and keep themselves clean. Yeah. You don't want, smelling. Nobody likes a stinky person. Yeah, stinky BO person. Yeah, lots of BO coming, body odor, and smelling. Obviously, that's not attractive. So it reminds me of that saying of Ibn Abbas. He said, "I like to beautify myself for my wife, the way I like her to beautify herself for me." Yeah. So the way you would like maybe your wife to smell nice and look beautiful. In the same way, the husband, he should make the effort to smell nice and look beautiful, yeah, for his own wife. Yeah, so let's say, for example, he's been out to work all day, and he's been sweating away, earning the bread. He's come home. Yeah, alhamdulillah. Maybe one of the first thing you should do, maybe take a shower. Yeah, and usually the wife will tell you need a shower. So smell nice each other, wear perfume for each other, inshallah, and dazzle yourself for each other. And this is something that will bring you closer, because that wife will see that, look, he's making an effort to attract me, if you like, and that will incline her. And if the husband sees that she's made an effort to dazzle herself, etc., he'll feel special, etc. So that is something very good. And so obviously, in general, the Muslim, he should always maintain himself. So that's why we cut our nails. Well, it recommended obviously every week before Jummah, to remove the hairs, from the obviously from the armpits and other places which I'm sure you know about, etc. So the Muslims should always be clean, and this is essential in the marriage as well. Point number 14, compromise on some issues which you consider dear to you, so that you can love the qualities your partner has. Yeah, so as we mentioned in a previous point, marriage is about compromise as well, my dear Muslims. Yeah, and sometimes something it might be very dear to you. Yeah, and you don't want to let it go, and you can see sometimes that this is going to cause problems, but let it go for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's one of those things, subhanallah, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned about in one hadith that he promises Jannah for a house in Jannah, in the middle of Jannah, in fact, for the one who leaves arguing even though he knows he's right. Yeah? So even to leave the argument, even though you know you're the one who's right. Yeah? Obviously for the sake of Allah. So something that which obviously may be very dear to you, and you can see, maybe you see this is a big issue, or maybe your own wife doesn't like it, and it upsets her. If you can, give it up, inshallah, for the sake of Allah. So obviously there must be a deal of compromise from both sides in order to have a happy marriage. Point number 15, look after your partner in the same way you look after yourself. Love him that which you love for yourself. Yeah. So obviously we know the famous saying of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, "Love for your brother what you love for yourself." Yeah. Obviously, and that could apply to even for another sister. What the things that you love for yourself, love it for your own fellow Muslim brother, for fellow Muslim sister. Love it for your own husband. The things that you like to see in them, yeah, consider that they might also like the same thing in you. So bear this in mind, inshallah. Point number 16, accept the principle of give and take, and don't be self-centered in order to take more than you give, or to take everything. Yeah, so as we mentioned, obviously the compromise in the marriage. And when we mean compromise, obviously we're talking about in areas where it's permissible. Yeah? In areas where it's permissible. So, that could, simple things. Maybe, your family wants to buy that particular pram. Yeah, but you think, well, it's not to you. It's not that pretty, but she really likes it, and she thinks it's pretty, and she wants it. Alhamdulillah, go for it, inshallah. Or so something like that. Give and take. Yeah, don't always be too self-centered. Like, look, it's got to be my way. I've got to have it the way. I made up my mind. I say I'm not backing down. Yeah. Try not to be like this. Point number 17. The man wants his wife to be ideal and be able to deal with all matters with goodness and give him unconditional love. The woman wants her husband to have a strong personality and be able to suffice all her needs. And she wants to be sure that she is the last woman in his life. Yeah, that's point number 17. Point number 18. Don't rush into blaming your partner for every incident. Instead, assume half the responsibility, and don't try to predict the unseen. Yeah, so sometimes something might happen and one party is sometimes very quick to say, look, that was your fault. Had you listened to me, it would never happen. Subhanallah. It's like, somebody, like the point is mentioned, as if you know the unseen. Obviously, subhanallah, don't be at that thing where you just want to wash your hands clean. Yeah, sometimes things happen, and you should not have that kind of blame game, as we say. Oh, it's your fault, it's nothing to do with me. Had I been in charge, it would not have happened, and this and that. Yeah, do not be like this. And don't rush to blame your partner for everything. Rather, try to assume that, look, look at it like you're jointly, it was together your fault. Yeah, that look. So, basically take up the thing that maybe I was to blame. Maybe sometimes you even feel like, look, maybe you advise your own wife not to do it like this, and she did it, and they end up, some problem happened, and you're thinking to yourself, look, had she listened to me, it would not have happened, etc. But don't make that point. See, I told you so. So you never listen. He said, don't be like this. Okay? So that's point number 18. Don't rush into blaming your partner for every incident. Instead, assume half the responsibility and don't try to predict the unseen. Point number 19. Live your day and don't think about worries of tomorrow. And act within your capabilities. Yeah. So take every day as it comes. Yeah. Take every day as it comes and deal with the situation at hand right now. Yeah. And and don't be too focused on what may or may not happen tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow may not even come. So act within your capabilities. Think about what you can do here and now, and what you can deal with now. And if tomorrow comes, then we'll deal with it tomorrow. Yeah, there's another saying here in Dar al-Kufr. Say we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah. So take one day at a time and deal with what is in front of you today. Point number 20. It is your duty to try and understand the sanctity of marriage. It is a very strong institution. So pause for a moment before you take a step, after which regrets will be of no value. So, subhanallah, obviously marriage, the contract is a huge contract. For a woman, that will be the biggest contract she takes in her life. It's not something to be taken lightly. Oh look, if it doesn't work out, don't worry, we'll just get divorced and get married again. And subhanallah, it needs to be taken serious. Yeah, it needs to be taken serious, and this whole sanctity of marriage. We're not like the kuffar. Yeah, we're not like the kuffar where you can just get married, and then if it doesn't work out, just get divorced and get a quick divorce, and then get married again, and like this, and keep regularly getting married and divorced. Yeah. Obviously, take it seriously, and remember, my dear Muslims, once this contract is broken, yeah, a lot of people, they end up in regret, because maybe in the moment, maybe the husband, he gave the talaq, yeah, and many people after, they regret. And sometimes, obviously, if they're given the 3 talaqs for the man, that's it. This is permanently broken, the marriage, and the marriage, he can't get married to that same woman until if she marries another man, different man, and she gets divorced from that. You see, and many people, they get divorced and they end up in regret. What have they done? Disaster. And it's not something that you can just quickly, super glue back together. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So be very careful, and don't obviously be in the haste to always, any little issue happen, automatic straight away in your mind is divorce, and it will solve everything. Yeah, divorce will not solve everything. Yeah, and obviously remember that one of the things that obviously shaitan, he tries to put that discord in people's marriages. See, obviously marriages break up, and when marriages break up, it has big effect, especially when children are involved. So be very careful, inshallah. Point number 21. Although love is essential and important part of marriage, don't solely rely on love as the basis to marriage. Yeah. Point number 22. You should be an example to your partner, and let your good actions tell and convey your personality. Okay, some of these points I'm just going to quickly go through because I'm just looking at the time. It's 11:25. Just going to have a quick check if Brother Abu Wala is online. Okay, I think he may be. Just going to undot a few people, inshallah. Okay, coming back. Okay, point number 23. Don't allow room for your relatives and your neighbors to interfere between the two of you, and try to resolve your problems amongst yourselves as much as possible. Yeah. So obviously, it's similar to one previous point we mentioned. If there's any issues, try to resolve it amongst yourselves. Yeah. Try not to get other people involved unless it's absolutely necessary. And especially, subhanAllah, especially when you start discussing issues and problems with relatives, etc. Yeah, because people don't understand. They won't understand your situation as best as you do. And especially when you start to start telling relatives, etc. They could end up making things worse for you. Yeah, they're going to say, see, you didn't listen. I told you not to get married to him, or whatever. Or people will make. Sometimes people are just genuinely, they're not good. They don't good at giving good advice. Yeah, so they think maybe you should try this. Yeah, so maybe the husband did something, and maybe another woman is advising. Yeah, see, he's no good. You should divorce him. It's like, well, yeah, that's straight away. It's like, obviously, subhanAllah. So you need to be very, very careful and try to deal with issues yourself. And when you get other people involved, some people, as I mentioned, they have evil intention. Yeah, some people, maybe their own marriage is falling down. Yeah, and now they just want to end up ruining someone else's marriage or whatever. So that's point number 23. Don't allow room for your relatives or neighbors to interfere between the two of you, and try to resolve your problems amongst yourselves as much as possible. Point number 24. Don't rush into correcting faults that you perceive in your partner. There are things and habits which can only change with time. Don't exaggerate small matters, making them into large disputes. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we all have mistakes. We all can make mistakes. And don't, like I said, the point mentioned, don't rush into correcting the faults. Yeah, Sometimes it may not even be a fault, but you think it's a fault. You perceive it as a fault. Stop picking at everything. Yeah? Something, let things slip from time to time, which are not big issue. Yeah? If you start mentioning it, you end up making it a big issue. And obviously, remember, someone you married, they might have different way they like doing things, different habits. Yeah. So maybe the husband likes the toothpaste and the toothbrush on the sink, on the shelf above, but maybe the wife, she likes it in the cabinet. Yeah, and he's been doing that for the last 20 years. Before he got married, he always leaves it on the thing. And maybe the wife will advise him, look, I don't like it there, I like it back in the cupboard. So obviously, if the husband, he should try and compromise and try his best to put it back in the cupboard. Yeah. Or if maybe the husband, you can see that he really don't like putting it back in the cupboard. So if the woman can, she should try. Okay, I'll let him keep it on the shelf. It's not a big deal. But obviously, sometimes certain habits that the husband may be used to doing for years, or the wife may be used to doing for years. Obviously, you've got to give people time to change and adapt. Don't just think it will happen. You just tell them that once and that's it, as if I don't need to tell you again. Obviously, sometimes people get stuck in their ways, and sometimes they can change, and it just needs a bit of time. Yeah. And obviously the main point on this issue, don't exaggerate small matters. Yeah, as we mentioned that saying, don't make a molehill into a mountain. Yeah. I've got that quite wrong. I think maybe the expression is don't make a mountain into a molehill. No? Yeah, sorry, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Yeah, I think that's the correct way of saying it. Yeah, so obviously molehill, you got, like you see on the ground sometimes when ants, they're digging their way through the ground, they form a little pyramid of soil. Yeah, don't call that a mountain. Yeah, this is a huge mountain. But sometimes little something has happened, don't make it into a big issue. Subhanallah. Yeah. Okay, point number 25. You must understand and accept marital responsibilities and consequences with a content heart and inner satisfaction. Yeah, so accept your responsibilities as a husband, as a wife. The husband, accept your responsibility that you are there, you are the man of the house, you are the breadwinner, you have to provide the food, clothing and shelter, yeah, for your own wife. Yeah, don't be like complaining about that role. Allah SWT made you the husband, made you the man. Yeah, these are your responsibilities. And obviously try to deal them with content and try your best to fulfill them. Same thing with the wife. Accept that your marital responsibilities, to obey your husband, to take care of his home, take care of his children, and don't complain about this responsibility. Why is it me? I have to always maintain the house, or something else. Why do I have to obey all the time my husband? That's your responsibility. So that's how Allah was made in the marriage, the wife, to obey the husband. Point number 26. Be very cautious to avoid disputes amongst yourselves, and be sure not to humiliate nor embarrass your partner. Yeah, so again, as I'm sure you notice in a lot of these points, the Sheikh is constantly emphasizing that point. Try to avoid disputes. Try your best to avoid these arguments. Yeah, you'll know sometimes it's not worth it. Yeah, it's not worth it. And if you do get in some argument, some dispute, don't humiliate your partner or embarrass them. Yeah, don't start using foul language, and insulting them. I don't know, saying things like, yeah, I should have never married you, or whatever. Maybe insulting their own parents, etc. Like this. Avoid this, at all costs. Point number 27. Work together with your husband and encourage yourselves in collective duties. This will strengthen your bonds and creates good memories thereafter. Yeah. So as we mentioned in the previous talks, do duties together as husband and wife, collective duties. So maybe you could cook together. Yeah. Maybe you could cook together. Maybe the husband can, I don't know, chop the vegetables. The wife can put the spices in, etc. Or maybe while she's cooking or whatever, that good thing a husband could offer. Look, shall I do the hoover? Lighten the load a bit. Yeah. Or it could be other collective duties. Maybe you call each other for the tahajjud, praying Qiyamul Layl. This is good. As we mentioned the hadith about even to sprinkle the water in their face. Yeah. So you could do something like this, read Quran together, maybe go out in the dawah together. Even the Prophet ﷺ used to take his wife out in the jihad, subhanallah, collective duty. He said, he even used to, pick from, take one of from his wives, he used to pick one to take to the jihad, subhanallah. So that's another collective duty that you can engage in. And obviously when you do stuff together, naturally you spend time with each other, and especially when you spend time with each other doing good deeds, and this is how you create memories. And by Allah, in the future, if you have some issues, is these good memories that you created that will help to keep you together. And in the future, if you have problems, is those good memories at that time will come to the rescue. So you need to create those good memories. And remember, when times may not be going that well, you feel, think about the good times. Yeah. Sometimes people have this negativity. They're always thinking about the worst times. Thinking about the good times that you had to have together. Think about I don't know, the children that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you together with. Yeah. So that was point number 27. Point number 28. Allow opportunities for your spouse to freely express himself or herself. Be an admirer of his or her ambitions, and do not be sarcastic nor undermine his or her capabilities. Yeah. So obviously, let your family, let your wife, let your husband express themselves. Let them speak and listen, as we mentioned. Yeah, give them full attention, and motivate them. Don't put them down. I don't know. So maybe the husband is thinking, look, I'm gonna start this new business. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm gonna wash cars. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be very rich. By the end of the year, we're gonna become millionaires. Now, obviously, don't say at that point, what kind of foolish thinking is this? Have you gone mad? Have you been possessed? You obviously say, okay, you can say something like, Alhamdulillah, and you can discuss, how's it going to work? What's the plan? You can encourage and support. That sounds like a very good idea, and you can be supportive, but not to put them down. So it could be the other way. Even maybe your wife thinks, look, I'm gonna start making some dresses, yeah, making some dresses, and we can earn some income like this. So obviously encourage your family like this. Oh, mashallah, That's a very good idea. You know, how are you going to get customers or this and that? Don't be thinking, don't put them down, even though you may feel like the person hasn't thought it through properly. Yeah, don't say things like you're mad. You can't even stitch a hole in my kameez, and you're gonna make dresses. Don't be like this. Yeah, so encourage each other, and and their ambitions. Try to help them to flower their ambitions. Yeah, and don't be sarcastic nor undermine your husband or your wife's capabilities. Point number 29, the financial rights must be respected. It should not be taken lightly, as this is amongst the major causes of marital disputes. Yeah, financial rights, subhanallah. And I remember I was listening to the actual original talk today by Ustad Abu Bara, and he was mentioning, majority of marital problems, or a lot of them, happen because of financial issues. Whether it could be for the sake of, I don't know, maybe the wife wants some things and the man can't afford it, but she's persistent, etc. Or maybe the husband doesn't spend on his own wife. Yeah, he's very stingy. Yeah, even though there was an incident at the time of the Prophet ﷺ that I believe it was the wife of Abu Sufyan. He was a stingy in terms of spending on her, and she asked if he could take the money from him without his knowledge, and he gave her permission, but only to take that which is enough. Yeah, that which is enough for her. So obviously the husband must spend on his own wife, on things that she needs, yeah, and he should not she should not be stingy. And I remember, subhanallah, Sheikh Faisal. Yeah, Sheikh Faisal, he's I remember in his talks he used to say that, if the husband does not financially spend on his wife, he loses his own conjugal rights. Yes, that I used to say that she can even refuse to have a relationship with him. Yeah, so obviously that's the Sheikh Faisal statement. But obviously the wife has rights. Yeah, she has rights to have the food that she's satisfied with, a home that she's roof over her head that she's satisfied with, and clothes and that she's satisfied with. Yeah. So Sheikh is right on that. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah. So obviously, my dear Muslims, spend on your own family. Yeah, spend on your own family. If she, maybe she wants a new dress, alhamdulillah, if you can afford it, buy her a new dress. Yeah, maybe something else. Yeah, maybe something else. But don't be stingy on spending on your own family. It's one of the best ways that you can to spend your wealth on your own family. Point number 30, don't engage your spouse with your sorrows, and try your best to overcome them yourself. But be sure not to forget her in your happy occasions. So if the husband, maybe have some worry, some grief, if you can deal with it yourself, try to deal with it. Yeah, and try not to land on her shoulders. Yeah? Because obviously, naturally, her love for you, she will start, feeling hurtful, that the fact that you're hurting, and then you'll have having two people sorrowful and worrying. So if it's something that you can deal with yourself, then try to overcome it yourself. But if there's something happy occasion, something happy happen, don't hold it to yourself. Share it with your family. Share it with your own wife, with your own husband. So happy occasions, try to share them, share the happiness, etc. Point number 31. I'm just reading as it is. It says, "O women, beware of allowing your female friends to interfere in your private life, even if they were to advise you." So, well, how can I put it? Obviously, this is advice specifically to the women about interfering of their female friends in their life. Obviously, the nature of the relationship between women, relation between men, they're different. Sometimes, obviously, between females, they can very easily end up, maybe developing envy, maybe even jealousy. So beware of your female friends interfering in your private life, even when they advise you. Because sometimes, as we mentioned, some people may not be advising necessarily to give you good advice. So be careful, inshallah. Point number 32. Make your husband feel that he is the ideal person you have always wished for, and you are proud of him and admire his personality. So obviously, even though he might not be exactly your knight in shining armor as you were hoping for, but still try to make him feel that he's the ideal person, that you've always, he is your knight in shining armor. And make him feel that you are proud of him and that you admire his personality. So sometimes, if it might not be, exactly as you used to dream of your husband being like, don't try to show that. And same thing for the husband. If it's not, the ideal woman that you were dreaming of one day marrying, don't make that show. Rather make them feel like, they were the ideal person that you wish for, and that you're proud of them, and that you admire their personality. Point 33. Remember the good qualities of your spouse whenever a dispute emerges between the two of you, and don't let his or her shortcomings occupy your mind, so that you may forget his or her good qualities. So as we mentioned in the previous point, don't think of the good times and think of the good qualities in your own husband or in your own wife. Don't try to focus on the things that you don't like, but then you will just think, oh look, everything's bad about the person, everything's bad about them. Rather focus on their good qualities. I'm sure, if we asked, even if someone's going through some kind of dispute or problem in their marriage, I'm sure you can mention some things that you like in your husband. Or the wife, the husband can, mention some things they like, in their own wife. Even she might be, maybe he feels like she's very argumentative, but she's a fantastic cook. So focus on the good things, inshallah, and try not to focus on things that you may not be too fond of, etc. Point number 34. Ask yourself these questions, so that you can recognize the goodness and the inner beauty of your partner and successfully overcome your disputes. So the following questions: what does each of you find attractive in one another? What are the happy special occasions you spent together? What collective activities do you enjoy doing together? What does each of you do to show his or her care to each other? What does each of you do to show their love and respect to each other? What are your common future goals? Yeah. For all of these points, the Sheikh he said, to ask yourself these type of questions, inshallah. So as we mentioned, it's a bit similar to some of the previous points. Think about the things that you like in your partner. Yeah. Don't let shaitan just make you think about the things that you may not like, may not be too fond of. And think about the happy occasions. Yeah. Don't try to focus on all the arguments you've had over the years. And think about the collective activities you enjoy doing together. And what you do to show love and respect to each other, and what are your future goals. Yeah. So focus on positive aspects. Yeah. Be optimistic. Things and think good of the future, that there are good times ahead. Don't let shaitan put in your mind that look, from now on it's just going to keep on going downhill. Yeah. Be optimistic. Maybe you're going through some issues, but be optimistic that inshallah things will improve and get better. Point number 35. Again, it starts like this. It says, "O women, avoid the use of hurtful and disgraceful expressions during marriage disputes. Otherwise, you may lose your husband." Yeah. So obviously, subhanallah, be very careful, my dear Muslim sisters, about obviously the words that you use, and obviously to brothers as well. When you're communicating with people, the one word, sometimes it might come out your mouth, you might not think it's not a big deal, but someone, he could be so hurt by it. Yeah, he could be so hurt by it. Point number 36. You will gain the love of each other by exchanging gifts with each other, presents. Let this be a symbol of your marriage life upon every happy event. Yeah. So obviously the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, obviously, give gifts to one another and you will love one another. So it's the sunnah to give presents to each other, to other, whether to your wife or husband, maybe to your relatives, to your friends, but in particular to your own wife or to your own husband. And this is something that will help to increase the love between yourselves, and especially when there's a happy event, something taking place. So I don't know, maybe like you had a child recently, or some other happy event, and the presents, something we all like receiving presents. Yeah. And obviously those brothers who may be stingy with the presents, inshallah, you can always overcome it, and you can all improve. So sometimes maybe even you might be listening to this talk and thinking, when the last time you gave a present to your own wife, or when the last time you gave a present to your own husband? Yeah, might have been quite a while, but like I said, it's never too late. Inshallah, make the intention. Maybe tomorrow you're going to go out and you're going to buy a gift for your own family. So that's point number 36. Obviously, exchange gifts with each other, and let this be a symbol of your married life upon every happy event. Point number 37. The intelligent wife is the one who chooses the proper time to ask for her needs and the needs of the children, and chooses the appropriate time to express her thoughts about the behavior of her husband. Sometimes the time which you choose may not be suitable. Think twice. Yeah. So subhanallah, when I was reading this point, it reminded me of that saying from Abdullah ibn Abbas. He said, hikmah is to say the right thing at the right time and the right place. Yeah. So obviously, my dear Muslims, sometimes it might not be the appropriate time to mention certain things. Yeah. Everything has its time and place. And in particular, this mention on the wife on asking her husband. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know. Let's say, for example, you know, your husband come home, and you know he's just lost his job. Yeah, that's not really the appropriate time to say, you know, you want you know, I don't know, a new necklace or whatever. Man, the poor guy, he's just lost his job. Yeah, you know, and now he's worrying he's probably worrying how he's going to provide for his family. Or you know, I don't know, maybe you know he's just, you know, you can see he's upset. He's angry, something is bothering him. Yeah, that may not be the best time to ask for something. Maybe let things cool down a bit, and obviously think carefully about when you think is the best time to ask. Point number 38. It says here in the speech brackets, it says, "My dignity, my pride." These are the words of Shaitan, which he inserts in the hearts of the spouses during the dispute to cover the assumed responsibility and ensures that they stay in dispute. Why should the spouses allow for this and let Shaitan be in charge? Yeah. So obviously, as we mentioned, subhanallah, many of these things, when marriage and disputes happen, Shaitan, he will be there to add fuel to the fire, if you like. He will try to put these kind of waswasa like this, where he say, look, and maybe come to the wife and say, look, you know, your pride, your dignity has been hurt, you know, and try to maybe not forgive, because out of pride and arrogance, you know, and also because he wants obviously the discord to stay between husband and wife. And so obviously we should not have that kind of approach. Yeah. And yeah, there's something else I was going to mention on this point, but it's slipped out of my mind. Yeah, so that's point number 38. Point number 39, don't ignore the presence of your spouse. Yeah. Have mutual consultation in every important. Having a mutual consultation is very important for marriage life. Each must feel they are important contributor to the married life. Yeah. So, you know, subhanallah, as we mentioned in a few weeks ago, like when you're speaking to your own family, your own wife or your own husband, you know, give full attention. Yeah, I know nowadays we have these devices, subhanallah, they create, you know, there can be many good in them, but they create many marital problems. The dreaded mobile phone. Yeah. Obviously sometimes, you know, people, they spend a lot of time nowadays with the advent of so many messaging things, WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and you know, it just keeps you very preoccupied. Sometimes you have to force yourself to just put it down, yeah? Especially when you come home, you know, this is your family time. Try to pull the phone down and spend time with your family, with your wife, talk to each other, give each other time and attention. Yeah, and also consult with your own wife or your own husband in things. Yeah, ask for their opinion. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to ask his wives, you know, ask them about certain issues and seek their advice. Yeah, consultation, and that's one of those things, you know, that the wife will feel like, look, if the husband asks the wife, look, you know, I've got this interview with Channel 4. They want to interview me about, Jihadi Sid. What do you think? Shall I do it? Maybe no, I don't think you should. The fact that you asked your family, she'll feel like, look, he values my opinion, and she'll feel important. But if you're always, you're making every decision and you never ask for her opinion, she might start thinking that, look, he doesn't care what I think, he doesn't value my opinion, he doesn't take me seriously. So husband and wife, they should consult each other as much as they can. And obviously, my dear Muslims, there's some things which it might not be better to consult your own family with. For example, there's some things that, like the Prophet ﷺ, many of the ghazwa that he used to go out on, sometimes he didn't even tell his own family. Sometimes he didn't even tell his own companions. It was just like, tomorrow you find out on the day type thing. Point number 40, don't leave or run away whenever there is a dispute. Running away is not a method to solve disputes. It is wise to allow for several moments of silence and then come together to solve the dispute. So, obviously running away from the problem is not going to solve the problem. The problem is still going to remain there. And in fact, you could end up making it worse. Now, obviously, someone who may have had an argument, a dispute, but it takes a few minutes or a few moments, just let the things settle down a bit. And then we can, when both parties are maybe calmed down, maybe try and resolve it then. But not just to, there's some issue happen and you're just, I'm just going to walk out, and I'm not going to come back for days or whatever. That is not going to help the situation. Point number 41, don't bother your husband with multiple questions that are of no concern to you, or inquiring on secrets or matters that your husband doesn't wish to disclose to you. This may lead to the husband to leave the house and go seek solace somewhere else, or solace elsewhere. So obviously don't have this excessive questioning. And sometimes, obviously, my dear Muslim, you can tell sometimes when you're questioning someone a lot, you can tell that, they're not happy. They feel a bit annoyed. Excessive questioning. Obviously, take the hint. Take the hint. And the previous nations, some of them, there's one hadith, I don't have it here, where they used to question their prophets. Excessive questioning. And you remember the incidents of in Surah Baqarah about the cow. Bani Israel were just told to slaughter a cow. And they didn't. Then instead of just slaughtering any cow, they started asking too many questions. What color cow? Is the one that tills the land or doesn't till the land? This and that. And they end up making life difficult for themselves. Afterwards. So don't have this excessive questioning, especially when you can see that the husband, he doesn't want to speak about it. He doesn't want to disclose it to you. Just let it go. Just leave it. Point number 42, don't leave your husband and seek to stay alone, but be near to him and engage with him whenever you can. So it doesn't necessarily have to be someone is walking out the house. Maybe even within the house. The husband or the wife, they always distance themselves. So the husband might be, he's spending all the time in the garage, working on something. He doesn't come into the living room or whatever. He doesn't like to be near her, etc. Yeah, don't have this within your same home, have this big separation. Yeah, you're sitting in one side of the living room, your family sitting on the other side of the living room. Well, it should be close together. Point number 43: if you are a working wife, remember that your first duty is your household. Seek to accommodate both matters in the best way. Yeah? So obviously many people, they have this, kuffar especially, they seem to have this attack against the Muslim, or they don't allow the women to work. Yeah, obviously this is not true. Providing obviously the woman works within the limits of the Sharia. Yeah. But obviously this point is mentioning, remember the first duty obviously for the wife is to the household, obviously, and to her husband. So be careful of, if the wife is working, whatever, don't let that clash or come in the way to your main duties as a wife. Point number 44. That point? Yeah, point number 44. Don't show anger when your in-laws come to visit the home. Instead, be a good example of reception with a warm, welcoming hospitality, and be assured that these actions tell your husband much about you and your manners. Yeah, so when your in-laws, when your husband's parents come to visit the home, obviously greet them with a warm welcome, yeah, and hospitality. And and one of the things as well, my dear Muslims, obviously when you treat maybe his parents well, and actually something that he'll be pleased with you, and the fact that your parents, they'll feel like, look, alhamdulillah, my son is happy, he's got a good wife, etc. And the same, obviously, treat your wife's parents well, and so they'll see that, look, this is a person of good deen, good character, and when they see that their daughter's happy, they'll be happy with you, seeing that this person is taking care of my daughter, etc. And that's one of the things as well. Especially when your parents come to visit you and they see that you're upset, it's something that will hurt your parents, and they'll start maybe thinking that, look, maybe she's not taking care of him, or in the same way, if your parents come to maybe visit their daughter and they see that she's not happy, something seems to be bothering her, they'll start to worry for her. Maybe they might even start thinking, maybe the husband is mistreating her, or etc. So obviously have a warm reception, especially if there's nothing to be down about. Yeah, why you want to put a sad face on? But even if there is some issue, try not to express that to your in-laws, but behave to them as if almost nothing's happened yet. Okay, point number 45. Inshallah, we have just got 10 more points, and I believe Brother Abu Wala is in the room. So just quickly go through these 10 points, and then I'll hand the mic over to him. Point number 46. Point number 45. Dignify and respect your mother-in-law, and call her with names that are most beloved to her, and don't try to dispute with her, and always mention her son with goodness in front of her. Yeah. So this is obviously advice for the wife, dealing with her own mother-in-law. Call her with the names she likes to hear, and avoid falling into arguing and disputes with her. Yeah. And when you're speaking about your own husband, obviously, to her, try not to complain about him to her and say bad things about her, because you got to remember, this is the son that she brought up. This is the son that she took care of, etc. And she made, if you like, to be the person he is today. So if the wife starts saying, your son is like this and like that, it's something that will obviously hurt the mother. Point number 46, deal with the neighbors in good manners. Reminding and helping them with matters of worship and participating in their happiness and sorrows. This is what our beautiful Deeners have requested us to do. Yeah. So deal with your neighbors in good manners. Obviously, subhanAllah, Islam puts a great emphasis on the rights of the neighbors. Yeah. Neighbors have rights, even if they're non-Muslim. Yeah. They have rights, and one of the biggest rights they have is for you to give them dawah about Islam. But if you, in this point, what this point is mentioning, if you have a good relationship with your neighbor, this in fact could have good relation in your own marriage. Yeah. Now you might be thinking, how's me having good relationship with my own neighbors going to affect my marriage? Yeah. Obviously, one way, for example, how it could happen, maybe if you have a bad relationship with your neighbor, they might try to, out of spite, maybe try to harm you. So let's say, I don't know, you got a neighbor next door, you have some issue with them, some argument, and they decide to get your own back. They start playing music very loud, and it's vibrating through your thing. Obviously, this is then going to have effect on your marriage. The wife's going to say, look, go and tell them to turn it off. Maybe the husband goes, tells his neighbors, obviously, the music obviously is too loud. Maybe even say music's haram. But, something, and then, this, maybe, for example, what if they don't turn it off? You see? But they're just doing it out of spite to get back at you. But if you have that good relationship where the neighbor is considerate, and has a good relationship with you, inshallah, they won't happen to do things like this. And obviously, if you have good neighbors and you keep in contact with them, etc., maybe your neighbors will come, bring you food, etc., and you have a good relationship with them. Point number 47, persisting differences of opinion is likely to result in differences of the hearts. So be in agreement with your husband, and sometimes even if you aren't truly convinced, be reminded that there is no obedience in which there is disobedience to Allah. Obey your husband in matters of goodness and good advices. Okay. Point number 48, you can achieve the quiet atmosphere that the husband needs at home by engaging the children in games that stimulate their minds, like building blocks. Okay? This is it's an important point. Like for example, sometimes maybe the husband he's been out work all day. Yeah, so now he comes home, he maybe just wants to rest, a bit of peace and quiet. Yeah, maybe that's not the right time to give the children games that make loud noises and lots of playing, lots of banging noises, etc. Give them the saucepan with the spoon, and then they're banging away, and the husband obviously is like, why do you give him that toy? Now, he just wants to have some peace and quiet. But give him obviously, so that obviously see how that can interfere in your own relationship. So give the children, give them an atmosphere that will encourage things that will stimulate their minds. So yeah, so give them beneficial games, beneficial toys to play with. So as I mentioned here in the notes, like you have Lego, you have the building blocks, yeah, something that they have to construct. It's a bit of needs a bit of mind work, etc. Or maybe other games. You see, Give them games that are beneficial, obviously, like Islamic games, etc. Nowadays, you have many Islamic board games, etc. But generally, things that will, keep them sitting down and maybe quietly playing. You don't want to give them certain toys that's gonna cause them to run around the house, run circles around your husband when they just come back from a long hard day at work. Point number 49. Your children are a great grace and a precious gift. Don't allow them to be miserable because of your shortcomings and your engagement in ill priorities. Yeah, so obviously my dear Muslims, maybe if you're unmarried, you have some issue, whatever, you're feeling down, remember that, your children will see you. If their children see their mother upset or the father upset, something bothering them, they will start playing on them. Yeah. And so obviously your relationship with your own husband or with your own wife, it has effect on the children. Nowadays we hear cases of people growing up in so-called broken families. Yeah. Broken families. Some children, they grow up the whole life seeing their mother and their wife just arguing all the time. Yeah, this is not good for a child's development. Yeah, especially if the child grew up seeing domestic violence in the home. Yeah, stuff like this is very bad for children. Yeah, so always try in front of the children, especially always try to have that good relationship with your husband or with your wife. Point number 50. Learn about the stages of child development and the ways best to deal with your children accordingly. Avoid these adverse triggers that may have great consequences on the child's health and physical well-being. Yeah, so obviously the child, as through the stage of life, he goes through different stages, and maybe at the early stage, all he wants to do is play, play with toys, have fun, run around, etc. And that's the time, for them to do that. Then later on, maybe when you want to encourage them to start practicing with the salah, etc., start to get them involved in deen, in reading Quran, in praying, in salah, etc. And obviously recognize that each stage, they to do different things with them. Yeah, and avoid things that may have bad effects, psychological or physical harmful effects on your children. Yeah, so don't let them watch things like horror movies. Yeah, or don't as we mentioned a few weeks back, don't let them sleep in a room in complete darkness. Don't tell them about monsters and things like this. And don't put your children's in health obviously at risk. Okay, we're nearly coming to the end. Point number 51. Be a strong support to your husband on matters of deen and worship, and ask for the hereafter in the same way you ask for this life. Yeah. So obviously, my dear Muslims, we need to help each other to get to that final destination of the Jannah. You see that the husband needs to encourage his own wife to do the good deeds, to do things that will bring her closer to Jannah. And if the husband sees the wife, straying away and maybe going close to the things of the hellfire, needs to pull her away. You see, same thing with the wife. If she sees a husband maybe a low iman, she needs to encourage him. Say, look, come on, that road show's on today. You're gonna be late. You missed last week or whatever. halaqah is on. Well, you need to go. Or whatever it is. Say, look, encourage. There's a demonstration. Yeah, maybe outside the Bangladeshi embassy. Condemn Hasina, the Taghut, the oppressing the Muslims. Yeah, or anything, any similar good deed in the deen and worship. Encourage him, support him. So maybe encourage your husband to study more. Go to Islamic talks, seek knowledge. And make dua for them, make dua for each other. Yeah. Point number 52: extravagancy corrupts marriage. It fades the grace of Allah and makes it disappear. And Allah doesn't like those whom are extravagant. But be wise in your dealings and don't ever feel the need for others. Yeah. So extravagancy is something that's mentioned that corrupts many people's marriage. Yeah. If people want extravagant things, maybe, for example. Yeah, especially when sometimes maybe the husband, he's not that wealthy, and yet the wife has maybe a lot of demands. She wants a big mansion, she wants nice Mercedes, brand new, etc. She wants this and that, and obviously naturally the man, the husband, he wants his wife to be happy, and where he can provide things, he should try his best to do so. But there shouldn't be the demand for extravagant things. Yeah, things that's I don't know. The wife, she wants a £30,000 Rolex. Yeah, come on, £30,000. At a time when subhanAllah, the ummah is bleeding. Yeah, you're gonna wear a £30,000 watch. Unless obviously you got it as a ghanima from the Crusaders. But even then, it's better to sell it and give the money to the Muslims. And obviously try not to obviously always rely on other people, my dear Muslim. Yeah, try not to have. Some people have this bad mentality. They always ask others for help for things. Yeah, try to do things yourself. Yeah, don't always be of those who are always asking others. Point number 53: true happy marriages doesn't mean the disappearance of disputes. Instead, it means your wise ability to solve those disputes together and not to allow them to interfere with your relationship between you and your spouse. Yes, as we mentioned, every marriage, subhanAllah, there will be some issues, some disputes. Even the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he had some disputes with his own wives. Yeah, so no, it doesn't mean that if the perfect marriage, no one's going to have a perfect marriage with no disputes. Rather, this is part and parcel of married life. But the key is how you deal with the disputes. This is where many people, they fall down. The way they deal with disputes, they go about the wrong way. They allow disputes to drag on for months and possibly even years. They hold up grudges against each other. They don't talk about things. They bottle it up inside. Many things like this. Yeah. So obviously, remember, every marriage will have some disputes, arguments from time to time, etc. But obviously, the reason why we're studying this topic is to learn about how to best to deal with things like this, deal with disputes. Point number 54: beware of disputes with your husband in the presence of the children, or raising your voice in their presence. Before anything, the children first learn from the examples and blind imitation. These disputes will be programmed in the children's mind, with potential consequences thereafter. Yeah, so as I've already touched on this point, obviously, my dear Muslims, be very careful about having arguments and disputes in front of the children. This will harm the child. And obviously, imagine the child obviously growing up in that atmosphere, where maybe the wife, she never listened to the husband. Maybe the husband was very aggressive or violent. What's this going to teach the child? So obviously doesn't mean obviously when the children are not around you can do whatever you like, but you've got to be even more careful and vigilant obviously what you do in front of the children, because they will learn and they will imitate, and they will see it as, maybe they might even say this is just normal, that's just how it is. And obviously no child wants to see their parents angry with each other. And the final point number 55, don't allow anyone to interfere with your personal life, and do not permit a reason for interference in the first instance. Avoid sharing the secrets of your household with friends and close relatives. So I think another point was similar to this. So like I said, try to keep it in-house. Your personal issues, what goes in your home, try to keep it in-house. Your disputes, try to keep it inside your house. And also especially things like, as we mentioned, personal things, your own relationship, they shouldn't be going outside your own home without a valid Sharia permit. So that is the 55 points given by Sheikh Umar, and I've tried my best to deliver in the way which he has delivered to his students. Obviously I never had the blessing of meeting the Sheikh direct myself. I hope you have benefited, and obviously many points I mentioned, this is just advice, and none of us are malaika, we're not perfect, we all have mistakes. I'm sure many of these points, even as I was reading through some of the points, I'm reading and thinking, I'm falling short on that particular point or this particular point. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us better Muslims, to make us better husbands, or for the wives, make them better wives, inshallah. And those husbands and wives who are going through any disputes, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring their hearts together. And if it's not good for them, obviously to depart them in a good term. And to all those brothers and sisters who are seeking good spouses, inshallah you find good spouses and have many years of happy marriage and many children, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, brothers and sisters, for listening. That inshallah concludes the series on marriage. Initially the first talk I did was supposed to be a one-off, but a brother suggested that I should do a series of talks, and I had the notes, alhamdulillah. And as I mentioned, this is the benefits of good students who make those good notes. Today I'm able to deliver this talk because one of his students took good notes, so that the ilm can be, and the advice can be passed on. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this from us, and to forgive us, and to give us all marriages which are full of happiness and tranquility, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for listening.